His second season as a Formula One driver couldn't have started better.
With Jackie Stewart, the winner, on the road to the championship.
Now back to Spa for the closing stage.
Having won the first race at Monaco, he arrived in Belgium with high hopes.
Completing the front rank, Jackie reported.
But it was a race that would change everything for Jackie.
And we're all set for the off.
Motor racing is dangerous. There's a mystique about danger. There's an attraction, but you don't want to be having accidents. To finish first you must finish.
But Spa 1966 was a race Jackie was never to finish.
And that's all we've seen. Only 6 cars have gone through at the end of the first lap.
I had no idea what had happened to Jackie, but another 2 wives. One sort of drowned about half a bottle of whiskey. One went hysterical because they had no idea what happened.
The drivers encountered a fierce rainstorm at the 104. .45-mile-an-hour corner at the bottom of the hill, and that was where Graham Hill saw in the field the other BRM, that of Jackie Stewart, upside down with Jackie still in it.
Jackie bounced off a wall off the front of a cottage and landed with his BRM literally banana-shaped around him.
And I was soaked in fuel, high-octane aviation fuel in those days. It was burning my skin right off me. And there was nobody there. No marshals, no help.
He was in his own bomb. But that day wasn't going to be his 10th of a second. It just wasn't.
And that was the day that he formulated his creed that he was paid to show his skill and not to show his bravery.
Despite his experience at Spa, life was good for Jackie. He had become a key part of the racing fraternity and was best friends with Scottish ace Jim Clark.
He was the best driver I ever raced against.
I think it's impossible to overemphasise just how important Jimmy Clark was to Jackie. You know, they even shared a flat together at one point.
The fellow Scot took Jackie under his wing and helped him adjust to life in Formula One.
I learned so much from Jim Clark, seeing him, how he dressed, how he ate, how he talked, how he wasn't infatuated by his own success. And I spent my life as a professional racing driver trying to do just that.
Jackie was hungry for the same success as his friend Jim, but his BRM car was becoming less and less competitive. To win a world title, he needed to be in a better vehicle. Fortunately, he was approached by the man who first discovered him, Ken Tyrrell.
Ken tapped him on the shoulder one day and said, "Why don't you drive for me next year?"
I said, "Ken, you don't have a racing team, you don't have Formula One." He said, "But what if I had?" I said, "Well, then we could talk about it."
They never actually signed a contract between the two of them. They shook hands on it, and that became their contract.
And we just had a gentleman's understanding.
Tyrrell sourced a car that would suit the Scot and built a team around him. Jackie's future was full of promise, but his commitment to racing was about to be put under intense emotional strain.
It was in the 5th lap that something went wrong. Clark's car had not reappeared in front of the timekeeper.
Jim Clark ran off the road, hit a tree, and suffered unsurvivable head injuries, and the car was smashed to pieces and broken in two.
Helen was the one who broke the news to Jackie, and Jackie recalls just sobbing his heart out.
If Jim Clark could die, anybody could die. He would have been the last person we would have expected to lose in a race car.
Jackie responded to the death of his hero in the only way he knew how. With the greatest performance of his entire life.
You can call it the Grand Prix that nearly got lost. Lost in fog and torrential rain, 3,000 feet up in the Eiffel Mountain.
They were conditions in which a race would not even be started these days. And it's one of the great motor racing drives of all time.
Beat everybody by almost a lap. And you don't do that unless you're a real virtuoso, one of the real greats.
Got his driving age, Jackie Stewart, number 6 in a Metro Ford, was piloting his car as though he had built-in radar.
When they're in those conditions, and to show such enormous balls in driving at that rate, just put him onto a plane that was so far ahead of everybody else, it was just untouchable. And it's one that justified his stance on safety in later years, because nobody could accuse him of being chicken.
Stewart took the checkered flag at an average speed of 86.82 miles an hour.
Jackie and Team Tyrrell had shown the world what they were capable of. But many people doubted that a new team could win the 1969 world title.
He was a world champion in the making, but he hadn't done it yet. So for Jackie Stewart to take the gamble and say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go with Ken Tyrrell and his new team, that was a gamble, but it paid off big time.
This left the field wide open for Jackie Stewart in his Anglo-French Metro Ford.
He had an overpowering effect on my way of thinking, my preparation, my commitment.
The man with his sights set on the 1969 Drivers' Championship.
And to allow my natural ability to be able to display itself.
And Jackie Stewart fulfills the promise that talent spotter Ken Tyrrell saw in him.
1969, I think I won 6 Grand Prix. I think 4 of them back to back.
Ken Stewart hold the line on this, the last lap. Somebody's challenging, it's Ritz going through. It's over the line together, and it's almost a dead heat. It's Jackie Stewart. Nobody has ever seen the finish of a motor race like that.
The South African Grand Prix, the Spanish, the Dutch, the French, the German, and finally Monza had clinched the championship and written a cheque for £100,000 in prize money.
After a triumphant season, Jackie won his first world title, aged just 29.
Ken Tyrrell and the mechanics, the Matra designers and everyone else really put the thing together in a very good package. Really, it was only left for me to drive the car because I think we had a pretty perfect setup.
I almost inherited the Jim Clark position as the leader within Formula One.
15 years ago, Jackie Stewart got Fangio's autograph. Now he's the idol. One of the new generation making fortunes in sport.
He's the best racing driver driving today. As a businessman, I think he may be even better.
By the end of the 60s, Jackie had hit the big time. The Stewarts moved to Geneva, where they enjoyed an idyllic lifestyle, something I've come to the Alps to get a taste of.
Well, I think I have a wee surprise for you. I'm going to give you a taste of Jackie Stewart's jet set period of the early 70s. Right there.
Oh, look at this.
De Tomaso Pantera.
This exotic supercar was the stuff of many a boyhood fantasy. And when Jackie's sponsor Ford bought the Italian manufacturer, he was the